a little bit spicy question off the gate for this video. Did Zoro and Killer actually damage Kaido or not? I asked this question on Twitter as well as the YouTube community page because I was very curious. Because it's unclear, honestly, if Zoro and Killer actually damaged Kaido. There are some sound suffixes, like for example, there is the throbbing sound when you have the mark on Kaido's neck that Killer left, or the impact and also the damage sound as well to Kaido. But in the same vein as you can argue Luffy damaging Kaido before the Rio training, because you can argue that he did damage Kaido, which is why Kaido sobered up, but ultimately it was meaningless damage. Not in the same way that Kaido acknowledged clearly and distinctly that Luffy damaged him, and we saw the blood on his mouth afterwards. Nowhere even close to that. However, I asked on Twitter, and then Twitter said, okay, for the most part, maybe, but not necessarily meaningful. And that's what I got from the YouTube community page as well, where they probably did damage Kaido, but it's not necessarily meaningful. But what is clear, Zoro needed Enma to start damaging Kaido. And mind you, this is a serious Zoro. This is Zoro with the bandana on. Once the bandana... Yeah. I'm keeping this on. Once the bandana is on, actually, it's a great to stop sweat. It's safe to say that Zoro wouldn't have actually gotten any damage on Kaido if not for Enma. I'd argue if Zoro had Meito Shusui and not Enma, Zoro would probably do no damage to Kaido whatsoever. Enma is the key, which coincides with the legend of Enma very well, where Enma is the only sword, the quote-unquote only sword, despite the Ame no Hibakiri, but whatever, the only sword to damage Kaido, which also in a way proves that Zoro is not the level of swordsman that Odette is just yet. A lot of folks did theorize that he was, but he clearly is not. In fact, also a lot of folks theorize as well, which I believe, but okay, it made some sense, that Zoro would actually be able to damage Kaido wholesale, even more so than the Scabbards would, because of the breadth of all things that he learned back in his hometown, because of Mihawk's hockey training and so on, but reality came to the forefront, and the answer was no. The answer was 9. 9. The Scabbards, I'd argue, did more meaningful damage to Kaido than Zoro did, meaning that we can clearly see the Scabbards do genuine earnest damage. I mean, we see Inu Arashi like plunge his sword, just to stab his sword into Kaido, like from the side, with like a kick. Falcon kick! That was pretty intense. And then the combined Paradise Totsuka as well, very clear, distinct, bleeding, damage, and so on. Whereas after the Purgatory Onigiri, you can actually zoom in on Kaido's body when Luffy and Kid are squared up against Kaido, and you can kind of see how like, there's no real damage on Kaido's torso, despite the fact that he took a full-on Purgatory Onigiri. Now keep in mind this though, keep in mind, they're very important. Kaido does have a very odd but fast, high recovery rate. He's like an Okiora where they just instantly recovers, but he just recovers really quickly. Like, it seems to me that all the damage that he took from the Scabbards is gone. I think it's just flat out gone. Like, even the actual attack on the Scar, I think is gone. Kaido's just chilling. Though, to be fair, in this situation against Zoro and Killer, the attack just happened. That being said, when you think about Zoro unleashing more of Enma, and mind you, we don't see Haki, necessarily armor Haki hardening on Zoro's blades, but it's safe to assume that both Killer and Zoro used Haki at that point in time to actually damage Kaido, because there is an inconsistency in terms of the Ryo Haki. It's invisible, but it's still there. So a lot of the attacks that the Scabbards do against Kaido, in their fight against Kaido, we don't see armor Haki hardening on their blades. But we know that it's there to an extent because they're actually able to damage Kaido. In the anime, because they always have aura, like the Ryo aura, they'll be far more clear in the anime that Haki's being utilized there. In fact, in the latest episode of One Piece, 959, we do see Zoro have aura over his blade, but we don't see the black hardening over Zoro's blade. Now we cover all that. I can see several good things happening for Zoro, so Zoro gets to the point where he can start doing a lot more substantial damage to Kaido. And releasing more of Enma's power might be one of many things. The haki level that Zoro has is not on Luffy's level, which makes sense. So he has to exert a lot more haki and a lot more power with Enma. Not just incrementally for smaller attacks, but also for larger scale attacks as well, which over the course of this fight will improve Zoro's haki naturally. So it's very safe to say that at some point during this fight against Kaido, Zoro's gonna put like all of his haki into Enma, like as much as possible, and do some crazy powerful new attack against Kaido, like an all or nothing crazy Itoryu or Santori, whatever he's gonna do, and then that attack will probably do a good amount of damage to Kaido, absolutely. Now, we could also see as a result of this, Zoro in a very similar situation that Luffy in the past was in when he came out of Gear 4 Boundman, where he would run out of haki. We've only seen Luffy ever run out of haki. Only him. So bringing back that aspect of the story, especially now when we're fighting against a Yonko, I think would do wonders for raising the tension where the fighting is so intense that folks are running out of haki. And actually, he could do so, let's say, in combination with Ashura, if A, Ashura's still a thing, B, if let's say the haki of Enma can affect the other swords as well, Ichimonji and the Sankatetsu, for a giant haki attack of sorts. Or it could be the case, and this I think is actually it's a hard stretch. I think it is, honest to God.
Pause.
But recall Tengyama's words about how Enma was not yet a Black Blade. And depending on Zoro, it could be a Black Blade. What if unleashing more of Enma winds up turning Enma into a Black Blade somehow, some way? We don't know how someone gets a Black Blade. I did a full-on video on that. Check it out. But because Black Blades was a thing that was mentioned previously in this arc, and Zoro's very keen on that, just how with the Firefox style, he was very keen on that, and then he actually learned the Firefox, well, he quote-unquote stole the Firefox style. It could be the case here where we follow the similar logic with Zoro, and then he winds up having Enma be his first Black Blade. Then Zoro can start doing a lot more meaningful damage to Kaido. What's also very possible, because this I think is gonna be like a prolonged battle, because we're still in Act 3. Ow, Jesus, man. Yo. We're still in Act 3. So it's possible that there's a break in the fight. Let's say like Luffy Katakuri, where there was a break in the fight for a period of time. What if there's gonna be a break in the fight between Zoro and company against Kaido? And let's say for the first time, like we've seen the entire series, let's say Luffy gives Zoro some pointers on this haki. It'd be actually very intriguing to see Luffy help out Zoro in getting stronger to actually be able to damage Kaido. That'd be actually pretty good, I think, from a Kaido standpoint, on both Luffy and Zoro's part, I would argue. But that being said, now it could be the case, so let's say he could steal the idea, because let's say he's watching Luffy do this, because of what he learned in his hometown village in East Blue, because of Mihawk and so on, maybe he has a good idea, and watching Luffy's all he needs to actually use a level of haki after a period of time. Because apparently Zoro has a Sharingan, and he can steal the Firefox style. Maybe you can apply it to Luffy as well with his level of haki. So it depends on where Zoro lies on haki wise, but it's clearly inferior in that of Luffy. And I suppose the last way in which Zoro versus Kaido can play out in terms of actually damaging Kaido, correction, doing more damage to Kaido, would be, and I still want to see it, please Oda, is if at some point the Sandai breaks and then the Nyakatetsu is in Zoro's possession. While this fight is still going on, we are shifting battlegrounds. Like, Onigashima is literally moving to the capital of Wano country. And Tenguyama, I think, will be in play at some point, because again, we're still in Act 3 right now of Wano country. And even though it's possible, maybe possible, that Act 3 is the final act of Wano country, I don't think so. I can definitely see somehow, some way, Tengami Tetsu and Zoro meeting up when Zoro needs him the most. On the Avatar, he'll actually arrive, and then he'll give Zoro the Nikatetsu, and then Zoro can probably do some even new crazier attacks, and maybe even have a cursed sword, because a lot of folks theorize, including myself, that maybe the cursed swords play a role in Zoro being able to actually use Ashura and Enbima and so on. And so if these things weren't accessible to him because of the Sandai, maybe in the future because of Nidai, he'll get these things again. So at the end of the day, this is what's happening for one Roronoa Zoro. I'm gonna catch you guys and gals on the flip side. Be easy, take care, and have a nice one. Stay safe.